In this video, we're going to cover setting up payroll items. Payroll items are going to be necessary if you're going to use QuickBooks for payroll, and they make it easy to job cost and pay your employees appropriately. In job costing, payroll items will dictate what service item the cost of the payroll gets allocated to, so that you can make sure that you're costing the cost of every job, not only to the job, but also to the department and to the correct chart of accounts. Let's dive in and see how. Again, this video is meant for educational purposes, and we recommend that you consult a financial professional before you make any changes to your accounting. Payroll items are used for two important things. One, they're used to determine the correct rate of pay for an employee. So an employee will have a payroll item attached to it. That payroll item will contain that employee's rate of pay. And an employee can have multiple rates of pay or multiple different payroll items if their rate of pay changes depending on the type of work that they're doing. Payroll items will also apply the payroll cost to the desired expense account. So payroll items link to a chart of account, and that's where the cost of the payroll goes to. So you need new payroll items in two scenarios. Number one, when an employee's rate of pay changes, i.e. for snow or union wage work. And number two, you need a new payroll item when you need the payroll cost to be allocated to a different account. But that's for chart of account. Payroll items are really simple in that basically you only really need to pay attention to the first one when the rate of pay changes. It might be that you want to allocate payroll costs to different accounts, but that's probably because you have a lot of payroll accounts set up in your chart of accounts. If you simplify that and use service items to track it by department, you can boil it down to one or two simple payroll items in your chart of accounts and have your service items do the reporting on what division that they were spent in. A simple chart helps. Because if you end up creating payroll accounts for install and for maintenance and for snow and for irrigation, then what's going to happen is crews are going to track time. And that time is all going to have to subdivided between hourly and overtime, because those are two different rates of pay. And then all those different rates of pay are going to have to link to a chart of account for each division. This is where things get really complicated. And you can imagine it's hard to get the right date or the right hours on a timesheet, much less have your crews allocate it to the appropriate department. So what we're going to do is simplify the chart of accounts. We can again have one payroll item, and for crews it would go in your cost of goods sold, and overhead it should be an overhead. You can boil it down to payroll costs being in one chart of account in your cost of goods or overhead. Service items will manage the departments again, or your divisions. That way you can track the cost of install labor versus maintenance labor versus irrigation or whatever divisions you have. But still, all those will roll up to one simple chart of account called payroll, making things easier. And then in your jobs, on your timesheets, they'll reference the service items. So in the LMN world, we're going to have on our jobs in LMN time cost codes. Those cost codes are going to link to QuickBooks service items. Those service items are going to link to a chart of account. And that's how we can get from a timesheet with LMN cost codes into QuickBooks, so we can subdivide it by department, and then into chart of accounts for the correct rate of pay. Let's take a look at how to set up a payroll item now. Here we are back in QuickBooks. If I go to lists and I go to payroll item list, here's a typical list of payroll items. Ignore all the taxes, etc. at the bottom, just focus on the top ones. Everybody more or less has an hourly field payroll item. So let's take a look at that one. To set up a payroll item, I'm going to call it, for example, hourly field. This is going to be linked to a cost of goods sold account because it's field labor. It's my crews. And hourly just indicates it's for staff that are paid hourly. If I go to next, it's going to ask me what account I want to use to track this expense. So here's where I'm going to link this payroll item to a chart of account that I want this to go to. So you should have a payroll in your cost of goods sold, and that's where this payroll item will get linked to. That way all the costs for this payroll item go here. Then obviously you want to track for ROE or earnings and any of the other QuickBooks things for payroll. We're not so concerned about that now. We just really wanted the first two steps. I've got these hourly field pay, and they go to the payroll item called cost of goods sold payroll. Notice we didn't set up any rates. Every employee can have different rates, all that kind of stuff. We'll get there in a minute. Now we're also going to need an overtime hourly payroll item because overtime is going to be a different pay rate. So what we do this time is we set up one. This time I'm going to call it hourly overtime field. Then I'm going to go next. And this time it's going to ask me to define overtime. And I'm going to say it's time and a half or whatever you want here. And then again, I've got to link it to payroll. I'm just going to link it right back to that same payroll, cost of goods sold. I'm not going to split overtime and regular in my chart of accounts. You don't need to. You can get that information from a variety of other sources. And then finish that with your earnings, etc. So basically I have two payroll codes, one for hourly field here and one for hourly overtime. Now, if I wanted to separate another payroll item, I could do that here, but let's jump first and take a look at what that looks like at a staff level. So I go to employees and I'm going to go to the payroll center. I'm going to open up an employee named Jill here, and I'm going to go to payroll info. Now, first of all, we want to make sure this is ticked off down here. Use time data to create paychecks. That's going to make sure that paychecks will be created from the timesheets that LMN Time exports to QuickBooks. Next here, we've got the different payroll items. So what I've done is I've added to Gilles' payroll item, the hourly field payroll item, and then I enter Gilles' rate, which in this case is $15 an hour. And then you'd go to pick hourly overtime and it would automatically do time and a half times 15 and set that to $22.50. Now, if I had a circumstance like snow or like union jobs where Gilles got paid more than his hourly rate, that's where I might end up setting up two more payroll codes. For example, hourly snow. Now, if Gilles got the same rate of pay in snow and in regular, I definitely would not need this because we can, again, separate snow payroll from install payroll using service items. So we don't need new payroll codes for that. But if the rate of pay changes, and that was one of the conditions we looked at in the last couple of slides, I do need a new payroll code. So if Gilles gets a premium, I have to add to his thing hourly snow and hourly overtime snow. And that all comes from, back here on the payroll item list, I've created separate payroll codes for hourly snow and hourly overtime snow. These things still end up in the same payroll chart of account, just like everything else. But I needed two of them because what we want to say is when Gilles works on one type of work, he gets paid $15 an hour. And when he works on another type of work, he gets paid, in this case, $18 an hour. So the payroll codes allow us to define what Gilles gets paid depending on the kind of work he does. Now note that's only necessary if Gilles' rate of pay changes depending on his job. If you don't have any examples where you pay your staff a premium, you certainly don't need to set up any extra payroll codes. Now making a timesheet for Gilles, really simple. Now again, LMN Time is going to do this automatically for you, but here's what's going to happen. We're going to send QuickBooks a job, the service item, which is the cost code for that job, and the payroll item for that job. So we'll send, for example, hourly field, or if it's overtime, hourly overtime. Or if your job's a snow job, you can set custom payroll codes on your LMN Time jobs so that it'll override snow jobs with the snow payroll code. Then Gilles will get paid those rates. Here we've just set it to hourly field, so he'll just get his normal rate. Then LMN Time will also export the number of hours on each given day item spent, and that's how we'll end up paying Gilles correctly. So again, coming from LMN Time is the employee, is the job, is the cost code. In LMN, it's called the cost code, but that's what's going to link to your QuickBooks service items, and then the payroll item as well. That'll dictate what department the cost of his pay gets booked to, and the rate of pay we're going to pay Gilles for those hours. Then, of course, all the hours will fill out for the entire week on this timesheet, and we're ready to go. So your payroll items should be pretty simple to set up. Hourly, hourly overtime, and then if you have any codes where employees get a higher rate of pay, you can set those up as well. But other than that, payroll items are fairly straightforward. The service items and LMN Time will do most of the heavy lifting for you. Any questions? Sign into live chat or go to golmn.com/help, or you can email us at advice@golmn.com. We'll be happy to try to help you.